This is my book. It's called Marley. Peter Gould. I live here in Windham County, right? Brattleboro. You should get a copy of this book because it was really fun to write and it's going to be really fun for you to read. But I would really like you to go and support your local independent bookstores. So go get a copy right downtown at, everyone's books, and support a local writer, a local bookstore, and a local publisher, Green Writers Press. And then let me know what you think about it, okay? Thanks. This guy goes up to some college in northern Vermont to study environmental writing. The guy's not me. And he meets somebody, a woman, who's a professor at that college. She's not anybody who really exists. She's not the person. She's fiction, and he's fiction too. And the form of this novel popped into my head, and I started to write it that way. And after 3 pages, it seemed to make sense. It seemed to make more sense after 5 or 6. The next morning, I shared it with the group, and they said, yeah, it seems to make sense. And then on the final day, I shared it with everybody who was at the workshop, and people scratched their heads, and I came home with it. And so I really worked on it over and over again for 3.5 years. And here's the form. Has anybody ever been on a train or somewhere, and you hear somebody speaking on a phone, and you can't hear what the person on the other side is saying? But because maybe the voice is really loud or whatever, it's taking over, and you fill in with from your own imagination what the person on the other end is saying, right? How many people have ever had that? Right, so you know the form, even though maybe you've never seen a book that's written in that form. So all you hear in this book is him, the guy, and you can give him any name you want because he doesn't have a name. She doesn't have a name either, but there's a few clues throughout, like the name of the book, that sort of tell you what her name is. You never hear her speak. She's right there. She's there for the whole time. She's there on every page. She's there at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. They get together. They go out for a walk. They go out for a drink. They go out for a dance. They go to a waterfall. They go have a naked swim. She's there all the time, but you never hear her speak. Therefore, this book requires more of you than other books that you read. Because in other books that you read, the dialogue is really dialogue. In this, and there's a lot of white space on each page, she's speaking every single time that he speaks. She's replying, or he's replying every time she speaks. You have to fill it in. Does that sound like a lot of work? It's really not. It's really not, because it's written and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten in such a way that it won't be hard. Everything that she says is pretty obvious, except there's 2 or 3 times in the book where you might have to think a little bit, because there's a ... and because the question that he asked her is a little bit more complicated. So it was a total surprise to find the form. It was a total surprise to begin to write this book. It was a total surprise that Green Writers Press liked it and wanted to publish it. It was a total surprise that Molly liked it, because I thought she's not going to like this book. And I've gone with the surprise, and I've really enjoyed writing it. And my hope is that you like to read it as much as I like to write it. I put it aside for a couple weeks. I pick it up again. It makes me laugh. And it's meant to be fun. People have asked me, well, does this mean that you want to be the spokesman for the anti-industrial wind movement, on ridgelines in Vermont? Well, it's fiction, and the views expressed by the characters in here, and as you know, half of the views come out of your own brain. The views expressed in this are fiction, and when people who have interviewed me on VPR and WCAX and the Commons and other media too have asked me about the issue of it's complicated, as they say on Facebook. It's complicated because everybody understands the science of global warming. We all know that we all have to do our part. And from the first moment that the windmills, I should tell you that when I was up there working at the Wild Branch Writers Workshop in June of 2011, the town was up in arms because the Lowell industrial wind developers trying to pass rules to build 21 450-foot tall wind turbines right on the ridge outside of town. The people in Lowell wouldn't see it because it was right above their heads, but the people in Craftsbury, the people at Sterling College see them all the time. And everybody wanted to talk to me and talk to other people at the workshop about the problem of what so-called industrial wind and how their feelings about it. So I talked with young people, with very old people, with farmers in the area, and it's complicated because we want to do something about climate change, but the people in this book, and maybe the author of this book, feel that if you develop means of developing green energy or alternative energy to add to the Vermont energy portfolio, which are means that are not particularly popular and which don't take into account the feelings of the people in whose towns the developments are taking place, whether or not it's a good thing and whether or not it does wean us off of foreign oil, as they say, it will never be 100% popular and accepted because the people who live right there, whose lives are affected, will never be on board. I always felt like, and I said to Molly, and she will say yes. This is what I said. Even long before the wind towers on Lowell Ridge were built, I was like, if we were being asked to have these windmills here, and if all the power were going to us, and this was our sacrifice, we were sacrificing this ridgeline to supply power for us, and this is what we'd have to do, I would probably be in favor. But in fact, it was a development brought by an international corporation because they could do it, and the power was not even being used for Vermont. Maybe the law says that 10% of the power is. So it's complicated. It was being sent up to Canada or down to New York City or to a grid that didn't need it, and so the extra power it generated was just being sent down into the ground, the only safe place to store it. It wasn't stored, it was wasted. So it's complicated, and that's what the people in this book say. Any questions so far? So that was the background under which this surprising book occurred to me, and I started to write it, and it was this voice, the voice of the guy who was in my head. And he was not a particularly interesting guy at first to me, and you'll find him that way too. He's a wisecracking, self-assured city guy, and she's a completely wonderful backwoods professor of chainsaw and self-defense and wildlife habitat, and he has both of them grow throughout the story. Would you like to hear a little bit about it?
Yeah. Please.
All right, so you'll get it. You'll get it when you read it out loud to yourself. By the way, I did say that everything I write is sort of a new version of myself trying to find my own voice. Everything I write, I read aloud as I write it. I don't know whether other writers do that, but I've never written a word on a page, a line in a paragraph that I haven't read out loud over and over again to see how it sounds, to see how it scans. And this is one book that I suggest you sit back, you pour yourself a local beer, read it out loud, choosing a voice for him, and then fill in the lines that she says. So they've already been at this roadhouse. They've met, they've gotten to know each other a little bit. I don't know why I'm going so far ahead in the book, but oh, I know. Okay. Well, I'll go earlier too. So they meet, they talk, and she decides it wouldn't be a bad thing to jump into the car with his car, his Buick, and go down a few miles off the campus and go to this roadhouse where he sometimes goes to. I mean, she's never been there because she's a lesbian. She's not really a lesbian. She's polysexual. But they stop outside the roadhouse, and he thinks that they're going to jump out of the car and go into the roadhouse to have a drink and dance, and nothing happens, and they're sitting there. So tell me if I'm wrong. I get this feeling we're not going in yet, right? Well, we're still sitting here for one thing. What? What smell? My smell? Oh, that. That's my aftershave. I put too much on? What, you don't like the scent? Well, that doesn't surprise me. First off, probably nobody up here even owns a razor. You're all into hair. Like you got hair in places, I'm not going to lie, you would have been laughed right off the school bus. I figured that. Is it like some kind of cult thing with you? Like Ja Rule or something, you know, legalize it? That's your relief. But the guys, they must think that they can get more chicks if they're fuzzy. We're all vegan, so we don't even kill the hairs on our own cheeks. All right, moose burgers, you're right. Yeah, they couldn't be. Yeah, matter of fact, I do, every day. I don't know, a habit, I guess, from when I was working. No, I went back to the dorm after dinner and I put more on because of going for a walk outside. I figured it would keep the pumas away because they don't like Old Spice Classic. Catamounts, whatever. Okay, catamounts, absolutely. Yeah, I read about that. It was on a dairy farm near here, right? Yeah, I knew that. That's why I thought, yeah, didn't they like take an impression of the paw print and like send the shit? I mean, what's it called? Right, the scat. Didn't it get taken to the state scat lab to be analyzed? Yeah, nobody ever saw it again. I heard about that. I mean, who's going to accidentally lose a quart bag of stinking, steaming catamount caca? So thank you very much, Farmer Jones. Excellent work. We'll just take that off your hands and send it up for analysis. Appreciate you driving all the way up here. You're the crops doing. How are the crops doing? Here's my card. Call me if it comes back. Seriously, if they ever confirm a native mountain lion sighting up here, the whole forestry business in Vermont will get locked up. Biggest endangered species shutdown in history. Never going to happen. They could find 10 happy mountain lion families living up here in the woods, and they'll all be like, yeah, must have escaped from some exotic farm, some rich guy's zoo. I like that creep in Indiana. Just keep on cutting those trees down. Don't ever turn off the chainsaw, though, and keep looking around. Don't work alone. Bring a friend. Bring a camera. Why? I don't know. I wish I knew. It's how my mind works. I know about shit like this. It's weird. Once I see something or I hear something by accident, it's like my mind is stuck with it forever, even if I'll never use it again. I mean, I'll pick up a magazine and I'm in some doctor's office, and then I'm like, ooh, look at this article. This farmer up in Vermont sees a mountain lion outside his kitchen window. Now someday, you never know, you may be up there, you might meet this woods woman, and you're gonna go have a beer with her, so you wanna be able to talk about this shit. So read on. So they go to this roadhouse, and they have a dance, they have beer together, but before they go to the roadhouse, she takes him to Waterfall to wash the Old Spice out of his hair. Otherwise, she doesn't want to dance with him. And then they decide it's much too nice a night, and they go out. And they go out, and they go for a ride in his Buick. And he doesn't know it, but she's planning to bring him up to the actual site where the windmills are going to be built. So she asks him if he wants to go for a ride there. And he says, sure, the night's young. Where are we going? No shit, all the way up there? Hey, isn't it private property? Okay, I'm game. Sure you don't want to go back in and have one more dance first? Okay. No, I was getting used to the music. It was definitely helping. But we can pop in a CD or something. Dance in the headlights. Where do people park around here? Oh, no, I was kidding. We are? You sure you know the way? Yeah, I actually do. They're in the car, still in the box. Mine are real leather. Wait, I'll put them on now. In the light, in the neon light. Yeah, that makes everything look special, you know what I mean? Hey, they feel good. I may never wear loafers again. So which way? Okay. Damn. No, I just get the feeling it's going to be a long night. I should have had me some nachos or something back there. Now I'm hungry. Being with you makes me so hungry. Just kidding. You don't by any chance? Oh, cool. What is it? Moose jerky? Should have known. Hey, but But back there you said, you know, all right, no beef, you said. But moose is okay? Makes sense. If you kill it yourself, even better, right? Sure, it's a lifestyle thing. No, I respect that, I really do. Of course, there's 300 million Americans, and if everybody did that, there'd be blood all over the map, and flies, and friends of Dick Cheney in every ER with birdshot up their nose. But hey, at least there wouldn't be millions of sicko feedlots heating up the planet with pure methane, so look at it that way. Well, that's true too, we could all cut back. We are way too fat. Fattest people in history. Paleo is way better. Hunter-gatherers are always going to be mostly skinny and have muscles and dreadlocks and abs and chainsaw tattoos and just enough fatty tissue like you do to keep guys. Man, if you're going to stuff it in like that, make the pieces smaller, okay? You're going to kill me. Plus, I'm driving. Accepted. Actually, it's good, real good. Yeah, I bet a little goes a long way. Could we like stop at that waterfall back again along the way? Have another head dunk? Oh, we're not? Where? Really? You do that? But we only just, now you're talking, wow. No, totally, I promise, word of God. Yeah, among friends, yeah. So you can get the sense of how it works. If you really, really read it, it's like completely obvious what she's saying. So they have their naked swim. It's not the end. And it was just among friends. And they're driving closer and closer to where the windmill site is. And he's really, you know, he's a good guy, and he's changing, and he's really helping her a lot too, and she's helping him. And he says, yeah, it's beautiful. You can see the whole dark part too of the mountain. What do you call that kind of moon? Waning. Like gibbous? Or is it gibbous? Waning gibbous? Cool. What's that mean? I could never figure stuff like that anyway. Of course, women in the moon, you know, you have this mystical thing going. Yeah? Well, we should hurry up then. Because I got class in the morning, and I may have to shut my eyes sometime tonight, and I'm with a woman who keeps me in the dark and only feeds me pemmican. Whatever. And she's planning something aerobic, you know. You can just tell, and she has the time sense of a tree sloth. This is it, huh? I mean, wow, I could never, ever find my way here again. Or even back to where we started. I am like totally dependent on you, and we're not even out of the car yet. Actually, I may sit here and let you do the hike yourself. Just kidding, I wouldn't miss this for all the ganja in Vermont. Yeah, I've hiked a bit. Southern New England. So I guess you know you shouldn't drive any further when you come to the sign with all the bullet holes. So what does wildlife management area mean, actually? You bring your camera, you bring your students out here with clipboards and cameras and GPSs, and you take notes, collect droppings, make sure there's enough alpha wolves around to eat the sick moose and beavers, to keep up the dam so the otters have a kiddie pool to play in, and everyone's happy. Cool. Yeah, no, I'm ready. What do we need? Check. Check. Do I get a headlamp? Thanks. How long is the battery good for? Sweet. So we could stay out here for like 2 weeks. No, you're right. I can actually see fine. The waning gibbous. I promise. Only if I need it. Oh, I know. How about if we say only if you turn yours on first? Good. I am too. Lead on. So far, so good. Nice and easy. You come here often? Me neither. I guess this is a good time to be here, though. I mean, if we don't want company. No one else is around. All your students are home safe. No thanks to you, Ms. Dorm Counselor, right? If they need a Trojan or a Downer or a 911 call, they're completely on their own. Wow, that far, huh? I mean, I could holler louder than I ever did in my whole life, and nobody would hear. Yeah, I've never done anything like this. Mountain climbing at night. You probably have. Like I said, listen, you can't hear anything. Not even a hum. Nothing. Really? What will they sound like? Damn, what, all the time? Swish, thump, swish, thump, swish. No, what? More like swish, thump, swish, ricka, racka, ricka, ricka, ricka. Needs lubricating. Squirt, squirt, swish, swash, thump, thump, swish, splat, chop, drip, drip, drip. One less bald eagle, no great loss. Meanest fucking national mascot on the planet. But does it ever stop? The sound. Yeah, that makes sense. Duh. On the other hand, once they're up there, you'll sort of want to hear the sound, won't you? Because if you don't hear it, it's because the wind died. And you'll be standing at the kitchen sink, listening for it, looking for that flicker in your eyelids, been giving you migraines for the past year, keeping the kids up. And you'll think, well, what the fuck did we build them for? Yeah, every time they shut off. It's not like people are going to say, oh dear, the wind cut out. Well, I guess I just won't go on Facebook today. That's okay. My freezer goes out, 400 pounds of moose burger turns to soup. No big deal. No, they won't let that happen. They'll have to fire up the diesel or buy nuclear power or coal or frack the bejesus out of the Marcellus shale. That's the balance power nobody ever talks about. You have to couple wind with something else dependable or you're not allowed to build it. I mean, I still can't believe they're actually doing it. Real costs, right? No, people never think about that. Believe me, no one I ever hung out with gave a flying fuck about real costs. Yeah, runoff, erosion, wildlife, the view, right? And watershed deterioration, fishing. Who even knows health effects? They're going to keep doing health effect studies for as long as they can. Yeah, tourists, right? Yeah, they will. Somewhere else, I sure will. Next time I want to study environmental writing, I'll go to Lake Pontchartrain or Love Canal. Yeah, freaked out animals everywhere. Crazy insomniac black bears, hypnotized bats. How do you hypnotize a bat? Snakes tied up in knots, porcupines hurling themselves at you. I'm feeling like the path kind of changed underfoot and a little narrower too, right? Feels like kind of a dry stream or a drainage. Yeah, neat. Hard to write a song around that though. Oh, I'm tripping through the drainage with the one I love. So I think that you get the drill. I guarantee you won't find it too hard, but there is a reader's study guide at the back. And it does ask you the questions that need to be asked. And there is an email at the back if you have any question like what is Marley actually saying on page 45, just write me and I'll tell you. You will be hearing about a contest. You can picture what the contest is. I'll be holding a contest for somebody to write at least a third of a book. Call it Chug or something, and send me all the lines that Marley says, and the one that will be judged to be best will receive a really nice prize, and including a road trip up around the places that are mentioned in this book. So stay tuned for that. Anybody have any questions or observations or comments based upon what you've heard? This is your chance to ask the important things.
I'm just curious how you start the book out. If Chuck or whoever, is it dialogue from the beginning?
From the beginning. There's not a word of description in the book. There's not a word of narrative. There's not a stage note that says this is where it takes place. But it's completely obvious because everything that the guy says paints the picture of where he is, what they're doing, whom he's with, and so you won't have a hard time at all figuring out that part of it. But a good question, Drew. Yes,
Was
Rudy.
she feeding him at one point, putting food in his mouth?
Definitely.
And what was this?
Moose jerky.
Oh.
Moose jerky. And he's driving, and he was going too far with the things that he was saying, so she stuck the moose jerky directly into if you've ever eaten moose jerky, you know that's very hard to chew. And she stuck a nice big wad in. Mhm.
So when you get Marley's dialogue, does the book, do you reprint it in twice the thickness?
No. This book stands the way it is.
All right.
And people often ask me what's my favorite book that I've ever written, and so the book stands. And I'm writing my next novel now. So whoever writes the version or the lines that she speaks, I will publish it, but just on a website.
Is there a deadline?
Yes, but I don't know it yet. First we had to get the books. The books just arrived this week. Now they're going out all over the United States, and now this is the first book launch. and I still have to figure out the best way to announce the contest. But whoever starts to write will realize that the creation of something like this is not as simple as it looks.
I feel like we should each get a book and then read a chapter, and then over dinner we could talk about how I thought Marley said.
Well, if you want to buy two, that would be great. I don't know if people have been reading the Facebook posts that I've been putting up this week to try to encourage people to come out, but when you buy a book, it's a real statement. A lot of people here are at the age where they're beginning to look at their bookshelves and thinking, I should get rid of some of these books. I should pack up these books and put them who knows where. And to go out and buy a book and not read it on a Kindle, but to actually go to an independent bookstore, if you are as lucky enough as we are in this town to have a fabulous independent bookstore just up the street. It's a real statement, and it's a real act of power to go to a bookstore and buy a book. It's twice as powerful to buy two of them. And it sends a message, and it's just a wonderful thing to do. And I wish Dee Dee were here, our publisher, because I would shower a whole lot of praise upon her for the hard work that she's doing, bringing out these really high quality books, all of which have an environmental tinge. They're well written, they're well designed, well produced. They're produced on paper which is high quality, and she's working against a tide away from books. So go out and buy some books. Yes. Other questions?
Let's go buy some books.
Anybody else with anything to say or
I
not?
just think it's going to be, it's just interesting. I wonder if Marley's voice is different than, like, if I read, when I read, if my Marley would be different than your Marley.
Well, probably her voice will be, but I'd say that most of what she says is pretty clear. Yeah, it's pretty clear, but the voice
The way she
will be
says it.
different. The way she says it. One of the things I said to Mitch Wortley, that all the best lines in the book are hers. The guy Chuck is somebody who, I call him Chuck, but you can call him anything you want. The guy is somebody who's from the city, and he's come out of a situation where he's a wisecracker. He and his wife are broken up, and he says he's a lot. He's much better than the life that he came from and the marriage that he had, but he doesn't know it yet. So he leads with a wisecrack, and he thinks he's funny, and he thinks he has a way with words. And we find out pretty soon that she's the one who has a much better sense of humor, and she matches him word for word at the wordplay, but all her jokes come out of your head.
I think that it would take twice as long to read the book. I think you read too fast.
Yeah, I did read too.
I think the book, you know, because of the line, is, 400 pages or 300 pages, whatever, you know, it's double what that is. And,
It's 90 pages, so,
okay, so
you know,
it's
it's
300 pages, and,
it's 170, but she's quick and
yeah, but
she speaks
she's not
quick.
that quick, I don't think.
But,
See?
yeah, well, you'd have to see, I mean, sometimes when I'm in a particular mood, I read it pretty slowly.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm in another kind of mood, it all moves along
Well, I think if you
quicker.
can contemplate those lines.
She's not really the kind of person who thinks too much and talks too slowly. She's right back at him with the same kind of sharp one-liner material, stand-up comedy material that he thinks he's a master of, but he's met his master.
So you wrote this during the workshop?
I started it in the workshop, and when I brought it home, it was about 10 pages long. And you might know how it is if you go off to some workshop like that, or if you start something and then you're faced with it and you think, is this worth pursuing? I guess I'll keep at it. The reason that I kept at it is I teach meditation at a university in Boston. Molly and I try to meditate every day, and I was meditating, and as soon as I would close my eyes and sit down and try to get really spiritual, this obnoxious voice was in my head all the time saying, you better write this shit down. So that's what led me. I realized that I had to exorcise him by bringing the whole book to all the way through to completion. I didn't know where I was going to go. I knew, sort of, very many people who write will tell you they sort of know where the book is going to go towards the very end, but they don't quite know how they're going to get there. And I didn't know that.
And did you have a lot of rewrites? Or?
Plenty of rewrites, definitely. Oh, because I knew that, and this is why. I mean, I finished it at the end of 2011, and then while working on other projects, I worked on it through 2012, 2013, and 2014 too. And the reason that I worked on it so hard was because I knew that I was going to be asking my readers to do some really hard work, and I wanted to make it as easy as I could for them. In the interview for the Commons, I did mention that Stephen, who's over there now, Stephen and I used to do a piece for a year or so before we actually decided to write it down. And we would stand or sit in front of a computer and write every single every single yeah, every single but, every single cough or laugh or beat, so that we would be able to reproduce pretty much the same material every time we walked out on stage. So it was that kind of theatrical writing training that helped me to do that. And that's why I had to rewrite it so much, because I wanted your speeches to be as easily flowing out of you as they could possibly be. And up until the time that we did the final proofread, just a few months ago, I was still rewriting. And I didn't realize that when I started to write it, that it would become the major hot issue of the day when the book came out, because everybody now is talking about the wind development in Grafton. Everybody is talking about the expansion of some others. The town of Irisburg voted about 274 to 9 against the wind development right in their town, and even though they voted strenuously against it, they knew that their vote has no power at all, because it's the Public Service Board that makes the decision. And if the governor and the Public Service Board think that this is a good development, no matter what the people in the town think, it will be built. And that's an issue which is going to become more and more intense as the race for the governor heats up. So I'm hoping that because the book has hit a zeitgeist bullseye, that maybe people will buy it and read it and use it as a jumping off point for some rational discussion.
Does the book just present like all the complications, or do you feel like it takes a stand?
I guess you'll have to read it and see.
Nice.
There's a passage on page 22, where she really says what she thinks about it. She really expresses her feelings based upon her being there, and her research, and her intense love for the planet. And there's just one space there. You can put anything in there that you want. Anybody have any other questions? If not, I'll just go to the table.
Would
get
you-
some books. I'll be happy to sign them. Yes?
Would you consider illustrating it or making it sounds like it would make a good comic book, the way that it's set up.
Yeah, I had somebody write to me last week about film rights. I think it would make a wonderful movie. But yeah, I mean, that's a good idea too. Anybody else?
I just have a question about the memoir.
Yeah.
You said another anthology was coming out. Is
Yes.
that all your? Okay.
They're all mine. Because we've been thinking that I should write something about those 9 or 10 years at the farm, and I actually have a whole lot of stories. They just have to be brought into shape, and Dee Dee has a plan to do that early next year. So I really appreciate your coming out. This is books, and it's fiction, and books get sold, and they get sold because people mention it. So spread the word. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.